doing another episode in English this time, and it's episode 176 of Destroyer Live podcast. We're back and we're strong, and
we're talking about
the Licked Up American Tour.
Even if this is from Europe.
That's from Europe, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But we're talking about the Licked Up European Tour since it's actually 40 years ago since the tour was running in America. So now it's February, and February 1984 it was actually they were in the middle of the tour.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk with a guy who actually saw one of the last shows on the tour, and he also met the band, and that's our dear friend Roger Bernard, who have been with us before in the podcast. So we're going to talk with him, and he's also going to share a little bit more about some experience he had on the last tour that Kiss did in November. So, yeah.
Let's do that.
Let's do that. Yeah, so in this episode, we have a very special guest that has been with us sometimes before, Roger Bernard from now in Los Angeles. But back in the day, he was actually in Quebec City in Canada. Mm-hmm. That's where you grow up. And we're going to talk today about the American part of the Lick It Up tour, which is actually 40 years ago. Now, when we're talking about this, it's amazing.
That makes me feel old.
Yeah, I mean, I was just a young kid at the time. I was 7 years old in 1984. So I just discovered a band, during the fall of '84. So even at this time, I hadn't discovered a band yet. So that was my story. But
and my first tour.
Yeah, your first tour as well.
I'm old fart also, so.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? The thing that is good about being old now is that you have the chances of you having seen an early Kiss concert is definitely there. So I don't mind being called old now because of that.
I wish I was a couple of years older, actually, so I could have seen more. But that, that's just the way it is. So you can't do much about it. But I think we're going to talk a little bit about when the album came out, the Lick It Up album, and Roger, how did you find out that Kiss was taking off their makeup? Did you have access to MTV at the time, or no? So you just...
No, that's the thing that was weird. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
tell us.
For me, as you know, I mean, I grew up in Quebec, and Quebec is not at the time in the early days, because I started getting into Kiss in the 76, 77, and there was some stuff on Kiss that was available to us, but not as much as if you were living in the United States, because Quebec City is a little city, it's remote, so I did a lot of pen pals with people to have access to the things, and mail order, lots of, you see something on the back of a Circus magazine, you see pictures, I would order that, and be waiting for the mailman to arrive and get excited every time you get a big envelope, and yay, I got new pictures that I've never seen before. And now people are very spoiled because they have the internet, they have Facebook, and they can see any kind of pictures they want to see right now. But in those days, when you were getting one that nobody has seen before, you go like, oh my God, this is a gem. I'm sure there's a very few people that have that, and you get all excited. So my passion for Kiss was very big from the very beginning, because before I got into Kiss, I was into famous monsters. So anything about comic books, sci-fi, and particularly monsters. That's why Gene and I have very much a lot of things in common. And I was very much getting into that. So that was not very difficult for me to get in love with Kiss. And then the first time I heard it live, I was hooked. That was it. When I heard the Deuce, I said, yes, this is it. Anyway, to go back on the 1984, you were asking me about how I found out, or the first time I saw them without the makeup. So I had a different understanding than most people, because as we know now, reading the books, it was a strategy for them to stay in business, and it was the next phase to go. Me, I took it in a very different ways. I was getting items from pen pals from Holland and different countries, and I started seeing more and more pictures of them without the makeup. They'd be like walking in the street. Yeah. I said, oh my God, now we're starting to see them, because people don't realize that, but in those days, if you can see them without makeup, that was a big deal. Because I was still trying to figure out exactly, no clear pictures ever came in front of me in those days as far as like, this is exactly how they look like. You'd see Gene with a scarf when he was with Cher, you'd see part of his face, but you don't have the full, very good pictures. And I say, oh my God, I'd like to see the four of them. And then, to be honest with you, before I saw the thing on MTV, because in Quebec we did not have the cable to have that channel, I saw them on the Lick It Up album, the very first Good Pictures.
Wow.
Not before that?
No,
Wow.
I did not. It took a while before I could see them.
Wow.
And when I saw that picture that you're holding now, of course, Paul was the first one I looked at, and Gene, right? Yeah. And then I saw Vinny and Eric, and I'm going to tell you exactly what came through my mind when I saw that. I was a little bit disappointed because I said that would be so cool if that was Ace and Peter.
Yeah.
Because all those years I was fantasizing about seeing them without makeup. And if it would have been those four people, but that went only for maybe like a minute in my mind. That was my first impression when I saw that picture. I really liked the picture of Paul. I really liked Gene. And then Eric and Vinny, I said, okay, those are the new guys. So, you know, it's not been that long that I wanted to see those guys without makeup, but it was cool overall. But overall, I mean, again, that picture is great. So that was my first impression.
But then actually but that was probably the case in those years anyway. We had more features in magazines and newspapers about Kiss here in Europe, actually, because one of the largest newspapers in Norway had a big spread before the album came out. It's the the other picture they also used for promo that's almost identical to the cover. Well, that was over half a page in the newspaper here, and that
it was the same thing in Sweden, actually.
Yeah, and OK also probably had pictures before the album came out.
Yeah, and the only pictures that I saw before of all of them, of the original members, is the Cream magazine, remember?
Yeah.
When that came out. Yeah. So, and even that picture, you can't really tell exactly how they look like. I mean, it's not that as clear as the album, right?
Yeah.
Because one is having sunglasses and they're kind of flaunting their eyes, and it's not the same thing. It's not as cool. But yeah, that was my reaction when I saw that. So,
wow.
But I remember the first time it was written about. It's like you had the first part of in Kerrang where you had the Mayhem stuff. They had a picture of Paul with a Kerrang t-shirt, and there was a small report about what had happened in South America, and I don't remember the actual text, but it was something like, there's some rumors going on that they're going out without makeup or something like that. That's the first time. And that was just after I started school that year. So it must have been in late August or something like that.
Did you think it was really going to happen when you read that it was just a rumor? Did you believe it? You said, is it really going to happen? Or you said maybe it's 50-50?
I'm not sure that I reflected that much about it. I was 15 years old, so it's like... But in one way, it's like I don't really think I cared much at that time. For me, at that point, it was mostly about music anyway. So it's like the only thing I remember reflecting about before the tour is like, fuck, I'm not going to see them with makeup before they take it off.
Yeah. Because I think, I was talking this weekend with my friends down in the south of Sweden, and we said that if the Creatures of the Night tour would have been more successful as it was, then it would have probably have taken the Creatures of the Night tour to Europe. So what became the European Lick It Up tour in 1983, I think if the Creatures of the Night tour was really successful, they would have, that Lick It Up tour would have been the Creatures of the Night tour in Europe. That's what I think anyway.
Yeah, that Creature of the Night for me is a bad memory because I missed it. I was
Mm.
that was the
Yeah.
one year of my life when they came to Quebec, but it was the year that I moved to Calgary on the West Canada coast because I wanted to
Ah.
learn English. So I went there to spend 1 year, and they came in January, and I came back in Quebec in April or May.
Oh
And
my
then I said,
God.
"Oh, I missed it." But then my
Yeah.
ex-girlfriend at that time, she took a lot of pictures
But
at the concert.
I actually think that if they had started the Christian Night tour in Europe, that tour would have been seen as
Oh hell,
much
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
successful than if they had started it, because the numbers on it's a little too early to dwell in, but the numbers aren't that different when it comes to the
hmm
States actually,
yeah.
or North America in
Oh, yeah, I
general.
mean, they're definitely more loved as far as especially the '80s in your part of the world. They were
Yeah.
greeted like kings,
Oh yeah.
for sure.
For
Yeah,
sure.
that would have
So,
been more successful.
I did. How by the way, how was the vibe in back then? You know, when everybody found out that the Lick It Up album was out, and they were taking off their makeup. Could you tell that there were like some kind of new vibe going on, or did people? What did your friends said? About it. Was there like a new? Was Kiss reborn in a way, or what was the vibe around
Uh,
Kiss?
Overall, we listened to the album, and the album was very loved as far as like the songs. They knew that it was yeah, the structure and everything. People said this is a good album, even though there's no makeup. And so there was kind of a good feeling too, because we could tell them, like the makeup is not everything. You'd think the Kiss
Yeah.
was everything because of the makeup, but the music is definitely very important, and they can do some good stuff.
Yeah.
So that was that. Um, there was at that time of my life, I had less contact with Kiss fans because a lot of Kiss fans gave up by then.
Yeah.
But the ones that I was talking to, they were very much into it, and they said it was positive, but there was not as many Kiss fans around that it used to be. And
Yeah.
even for myself, I was some kind of on a because I kind of when I went on the West Coast, I kind of let go a little bit of Kiss because it was my first time on my own, and my focus was more towards like going in life and learning a new language. There was two big things I had to go through: living alone and speaking English. So, and I had to work in that and find the right word, the right job, and without speaking their language. So Kiss took a back shelf, if I could say that. So when I came back to Quebec, I was starting to get back slowly into the Kiss mode. And then when I realized that they were going to come and perform in my town, and then that's what I said. Every time I see pictures from 73, 74, and I used to say to myself, if I was there, I would take as many pictures as I could, as many documentation, because people always wish, oh, I wish I could see more pictures of those backstage or different places. So I said, when I came to Quebec, that's it. This is my duty. I got to do everything I can to document this venue, this show that's going to happen. And I did pretty good on that.
And do you remember, because you saw Kiss in March, that was actually
Yeah.
just in the end of the tour. And do you remember when they announced that the tour, or when was that? Was that like late? There must have been late '83 or something. Or when did they announce the Quebec
I found
concert?
out. Yeah, I found out even maybe a little bit later than that, like maybe 2 months before.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not. It was. I was not following. I mean, like Quebec. It's not that. It's not going to be as much as a state. So you got to happen to look at the right thing to find out they're going to be there, and that's why I said, hey, I think I'll go to this concert, and my friend was going to go to the venue, and there was those days. It's when you have to go in camp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to do that because I had friends that would do it for me. So okay, I'll buy 6 tickets, and my brother and I would be able to go with them. And
That's great.
but this is when about not. Oh my God, it was so close. Maybe a day or two before the concert. This is when
So the tickets were released the same week as the concert.
Oh no! That was released
No.
before, but I'm just saying a day or two before that concert. This is when I had the idea. I said I'm gonna call the airport, and I called the airport
right.
to find out when the flight and if there's any flight coming from outside, especially U.S. And there was only one plane coming at 8 or 8:30 that night. I said that's it. I took my book.
Because I did some research here, and right after the European tour, Vinnie Vincent was actually fired from the band, but there was no time to get any replacement. So they sort of reinstalled him into the band again for the American tour, because they had to do the tour and they didn't have any other guitar player.
Yeah, that will explain pretty much the reaction, because the first time I saw him, he did not look happy.
Yeah, and the tour started December 26th in Atlanta, Georgia. That was the first concert in America without makeup.
That's always strange. A couple of tours have started between Christmas and New Year's, and that wouldn't have worked in Europe at all.
No, not at all. and they did, if I counted it correctly, they did 58 shows in North America on this tour, and the average attendance was just about 5,000 people.
Yeah.
And the weird thing was that they played in quite small venues. They even played in some theaters and things like that, And when I did some research, it was actually some theaters that was so small that they couldn't use all the pyro. So they have to take down the pyro because the venue was so small. And when they played in Mississippi, I think it was a show. It was like a heavy storm or something like that. So the attendance at that show was only 1,500 people in a place that took like 5,000-6,000 people. So that happened there. But the tour started and the set list. We can talk about the set list because they changed the set list a little bit. The thing was that they actually played. At some concert, they actually played 6 new songs from the Lick It Up album. So the songs that would feature from the Lick It Up album was actually Lick It Up, All Hell's Breaking Loose, Young and Wasted, Give Me More, Exciter, and Fits Like a Glove. And I think it was only 2-3 shows that had all those 6 songs.
Exciter was just played in Europe, wasn't it?
No, it was actually played in America.
Okay.
8 times. 8 times.
Okay.
Yeah, some shows. And in New Orleans on January 8th, that was the first time they played All Hell's Breaking Loose. And then I think that song actually stayed in the set. I could be wrong, but I think that's All Hell's Breaking Loose was staying in the set for the rest of the tour then.
It's just absurd to take Exciter out of the set list and keep Give Me More.
Yeah.
One of the best songs of the album.
Yeah.
They play in New York. They play Exciter for the last time. It was 2 days before the Quebec show.
Exactly. And the show opened with Creatures of the Night, and then it was. I just took an average set list here, so it could be. I don't remember what show this was, but they opened with Creatures of the Night. Then it was Detroit Rock City, Cold Gin, Fits Like a Glove, Firehouse, Give Me More, War Machine, I Love It Loud, I Still Love You, Young and Wasted, Love Gun, All Hell's Breaking Loose, Black Diamond, Lick It Up, and Rock and Roll Nights.
Yeah, that's definitely what they played in Quebec.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
And just a small note, on that. All Hell's Breaking Loose. That's the only time that Paul changed the guitar for like the Leopard or something like that. This one. That was the only song that he changed guitar.
Yeah, right.
Alexander, you forgot the solo.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, those are all there.
And the interesting thing is, and it's all not just for the Lick It Up tour, but at this time, even Creatures tour, Lick It Up tour, Animalized Asylum, the solos took a lot of time in the set. If they didn't have all those solos, but I think that was the 80s and the 70s, 80s. It was like solos. You have to do guitar solos, you have to do drum solos, whatever. but those kind of solos took a lot of space in the set. So if they didn't do all the solos, they could have probably played like 3 more songs or something like that. But that was the time back then. That's what you did. All bands did, I guess. Many bands anyway. And actually, in my research, I also found out that at some shows, I think it was 2 or 3 shows, Gene's hair caught fire. And not much, obviously, because they continue to tour, and when you look at pictures and stuff, it's not that much. But
at least in New York.
Yeah, it got on fire, and also they have a large number of support acts on this tour, and I just wrote down a few of them. There was Accept, Great White, a band called Vandenberg, and also Pat Trevor's band was also opening in.
Oh yeah.
Among others, because there was a few other bands on the tour as well. And as I show you before we started this, I show you this. This is the tour program that was sold on the tour. But I think it's a beautiful cover, and it's pretty much the same as in Europe.
Yeah, it's a different cover.
Yes, a different cover. And I think they changed Paul's pictures. I think it's different.
I think so. I have both in the other room.
This picture is different from the European tour book, because they put a live picture in there instead. So, and that was actually, I think, I'm not really sure, but I think that was the first time they used Winterland Production as the company for the merchandise, which is based in San Francisco. I could be wrong, but they used Winterland Production anyway for that tour. So
I'm a little unsure if they were used on the Creatures tour also.
Okay, I could be wrong.
Yeah,
I'm not really sure.
No.
But so now there was some fact, and you have another thing also I have so many memory notes here because at the Long Beach show on I don't remember what the show that did at Long Beach Arena on the January 27th, they actually achieved gold awards for the Lick It Up album, for 500,000 sold copies of the Lick It Up album backstage at the Long Beach Arena. So that would be an ego boost for the band, I guess, that they achieved those.
500,000? I don't think so.
No, but that's what it says on the.
Yeah. I think they sold so, but at that point, I don't think they found 500,000 to be an ego burst.
No, maybe not. But they didn't. I think they didn't have received a gold award for a long time back then. So
no. But the album, I think it in the first half year it sold 800,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
So, but it was a lot better than Creatures and Master and the Elder had done. But
and also now I keep talking, but also an interesting thing about this tour was that they actually did a number of in-store appearances as well, which we have seen record signings or what you call it, that we have seen pictures and also video footage of.
They did one in Montreal the day after the concert. I did.
Exactly. I tracked down a few other places. In Dallas, they did in Denver, Chicago, Cleveland, and New York City. They also did signings, probably a few other ones as well. So there was a lot of promotion made for the tour, So
and I was, you know what? It's funny you talk about that. I was shocked because that night that I saw the concert, I'll tell you later. But I spent time with Paul Stanley at the hotel and until 3:00 in the morning. And when I found out, he was saying at the end, he said, I have to go because I have to be in to do a book signing tomorrow at 10, which was in about 7 hours. And holy crap, I said, he's not even going to have time to sleep, really, to be honest. But yeah.
So Roger, take us back to the day of the concert, or the day before the concert, or whatever, or the same week as the concert, or wherever you like.
Okay. Well, it was winter. Obviously, it was cold, and there was a snowstorm that was planned to arrive on the day of the concert. The day before, like I told you, I checked the airport, and there was a flight coming. I said, "Okay, let's go." I went with my brother, and I took a big suitcase, and I put the first volume of my book in it, and I zipped it and went to the airport. and we're waiting. We see people coming out, and nobody looks like a rock star, because I still don't know how those guys look like, really. And then I saw a guy with a metal case, and Dean Markley's sticker was on it, which for the guitar strings. And I said, okay, he's got to be with Kiss. So he goes to the carousel waiting for his suitcase, and I said, excuse me, are you guys working for Kiss? And he says, yes, we are. I said, okay, I'd like to show you something. And I put my suitcase on the floor, unzip it, and I show him the book. And the guy goes, holy shit. He said, Paul and Jane would love to see that. I said, that was the most beautiful line I could have ever heard in my life, because I have never been backstage. Let's talk about backstage for here. There was no meet and greet, right? You cannot buy your way down to the backstage. So you need to know someone, or being very lucky, or meet the right person. At that time was the right time, and I met the right people. The guy that I was talking to was the guitar tech for, I think it was for Paul, I'm not sure. So, and the other person, I forgot what was his title, but they were traveling together. And I said, when he said that line, he said, Paul and Jane would like to see that. I said, could you do something for me? I'd love to meet them. He said, yeah. He gave me his card. And to this day, I still have trouble remembering what it was, because when I accessed the venue the day after, I gave the card to someone. They never gave it back to me. So I wish I had that card to put in my book or to show you, but I don't have it. But anyway, so, and when I was very excited, and I was about to leave, and he said, oh, by the way, he said, make sure you bring girls, because Jane and Paul would like to see girls. That's what he said. That's funny. No joke, right? So I go home, and now I'm all excited. I'm going to see them the day after. I said, should I work more on my books? And I said, it's useless anyway. I'm not, even if I had more pictures, it's going to be the same thing. So I came down, and I was finally able to go to sleep. And at 10 o'clock in the morning, I was in my car. It was snowing. It was very cold. You were in Quebec, right? For the show this year. You see how cold it was. It was that freezing. Cold plus the snow. So that's what it was. So I parked in the back, and now is the time to really make you feel how that was in those days. It was quiet. Very quiet. I go to the back door. There was maybe just a few. There was trucks on the side, but there was a few cars, not many, maybe 5 cars. And I go by the door.
What was the time during the day here?
10:30, 11 o'clock.
It was
in the morning.
Oh, okay, that's very early. Yeah.
It's gray everywhere. There's snow coming down, and I gotta, nobody went to clean the sidewalk, so you're walking in about this much snow on the ground. So I go knock at the door, because there's no one. I can't hear anything, no music, nothing in there. So finally somebody sees me, come to the door, and I show the card. He said, oh, okay, that's good. So he said, okay, bring the stuff you have. So I brought my 8 books with me, all of them, plus another book that had posters in it, and a clock that was made of wood. I brought tons of stuff. And he leads me to the dressing room. But before I get in that dressing room, I'll tell you something. Because the last thing I could remember was 3-2-1 Contact, that famous show on TV when there's like not a party, but there's so much action going on, setting up the stage and the lighting gear and everything. You can hear people excited. I couldn't hear a thing. Maybe tick, 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 tick once in a while, somebody hitting something. And I said, that's very quiet. And now I see only 2 people walking in that hall. So far now I saw 3 people. That's it. And I'm going to the dressing room. I'm walking in there. I said, oh, this is a dressing room. And I'm looking on the left. They got like a table with crudité and some sandwiches and stuff like that for the crew. And then to the right, in the very center, there was a big trunk that was open. The trunk was green, and there was all kind of medley things in there. And there was a beautiful picture of Paul backstage in there. And I looked to the right, and that was their area where they were going to put makeup. And the trunk was open with the outfit. And
you were all alone in there.
I was alone with my brother, because the guy said, okay, there we go, put your stuff there. And the guy took off. So I'm there. So, okay, I have my camera. I'm taking pictures. So that was the thing. And the one picture that I wish I took, and I don't know why I didn't take it, is the floor where they were going to be sitting, like where I'm sitting right now in my chair, and I have like a table here. They had the mirror in front of them. But on the floor next to where they're sitting, there was a cheap round piece of paper, thin paper, and they were their slippers were on that. A pair of slippers. And I said, this is when it started sinking in me, right? It was not the glamorous time of 1979 or 1977 anymore. It was like the budget is much lower kind of thing, because to see that little piece of paper on the floor instead of a carpet, and they put the slippers there, that was the first time I went like, oh God. And then I looked at the crudité table where it is, because trust me, backstage now you see incredible stuff that people can eat, and especially the crew that worked for the band. And that was, I took a picture of it. It's not very good. So I see that, and then finally one guy came in, sat down, because if those guys want to take a break, they just sit down. There's a few chairs. And I said, okay, let me go. I got to go and I got to go look at those guys setting up the whole stage. So I go in that Coliseum. It's called Colisée de Québec. That was the name of that place. It's about, you can easily put 10,000 people in there. And Alex, when you were at that concert, that's where it used to be.
Yeah, okay.
They demolished it and they built a new one now.
Oh, okay. Same spot.
So, yeah. So I go there, and the tank is almost like, I'm going to say halfway done already. So right now we're talking like about maybe noon or 12:30. And there's nobody anywhere in this entire building except the small crew.
And no one is asking what you're doing there. No one is...
Oh, no. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot a small part here. When I was in that dressing room, the guy came back and gave my brother and I a patch.
Okay.
Backstage.
Oh,
So I
that's
did.
good.
So and there was no, put it around the neck. It's a sticker. You put it, and I put it on my right leg, and it was orange. I remember it says backstage access. So now I felt so important. First time in my life ever that I get a backstage pass. So it was such like a big thing accomplished in my life. I can say, okay, I can die tomorrow. I'm okay now.
Yeah.
So
I know the feeling.
Yeah.
Oh man, the first time I said, this is the first time and I did it on my own. I didn't have anybody else, to rely on. So I went to sit in pretty high, and I started taking pictures of the whole stage, different place. And I knew I'm not going to stay at one place. I'm going to walk around. I have access now. I'm going to be everywhere. So I took different places, from the right, from the left, from behind, and I'm taking pictures. And then at one point they're starting to set. No, I mean, I'm going to go a little further, because I spent a lot of time just looking and watching. I did not go back in the dressing room by then. I'm staying there.
But all your books were in the dressing room.
Everything is in the dressing room.
Yeah.
All my stuff is in there. So I know the band is not there, so I'm not very worried about it, because that's all. My only goal was to get the book signed by them.
Yeah.
That was my ultimate goal. So I'm just keep taking pictures, and then I'm taking it easy. I'm just absorbing everything. I'm sitting with my brother talking about everything. And then we're the only two people in this entire venue watching that. There's nobody else backstage there that would be like, oh, we're privileged, we're seeing it. No, there's nobody else. And it's pretty quiet. And there's no sound check done. And now they're setting up the speakers and everything for Accept. The band was going to open. I said, there's still no sound check. Now it's getting it's like 5 o'clock, 5:30. It's getting towards close to, not 5:30, between 5 and 5:30. This is when they did, I guess, it must have been a sound check, because they didn't do any hitting the drums or anything. The PA system was to my right, because I was behind them. I was like, the stage is in front of me, and I'm at the last seat behind, and I see the PA system on the right of me, down there. And they did activate a knob that did like very, very loud for about 2 or 3 minutes, and I thought I was going to die under that time, because it was so loud. Everything was shaking. And then that was it. So I said, I guess there was a thing to calibrate the sound. I don't know what it was. I'm not a sound guy, but that's what it was. And then I didn't hear anything. I said, now I told my brother, I said, I think it'd be time to go back to the dressing room because the band must be getting close now. So we make our way backstage. We go to the dressing room. The dressing room is closed. And now there's starting to be a few people in that corridor. And I see Marie-France Rémillard. Marie-France Rémillard is a journalist that was writing a lot of article on Kiss. And she was the one that was, and I knew her personally. I could have used her, actually. I could have maybe called her the day before and I say, hey, could you get me backstage pass and stuff? But I didn't. I'm just trying to do it alone. And I saw her and I said, I'm trying to get in. She goes, you won't be able to go in. I said, why? Because Kiss is in there. I said, that's the idea. My stuff is in there. She goes, no, you can't go in. Trust me, you can't. I said, okay. I said, no, I'm starting to feel kind of down. And that's when she started sharing things with me. We start talking because I haven't seen her for maybe 2 years. And we start talking about the band. And she goes, the concert was almost canceled because Gene was having a problem with his kidney.
Yeah.
And they almost canceled it. But
because I think they canceled some shows because of that, right? I think so.
Really? Okay.
I think so. No, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe no. I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, Quebec was a close one, apparently, according to her, and she's very, very close to Gene. She has his phone number and everything. So I'm waiting, and then it started getting more people, and I realized that there was a radio station that did a competition, and people. There was like I think 25 people. The winners would come and meet Kiss backstage and for a very short visit, and then boom, they go. So now there's all those people packed up behind, and I'm right in front of that door, and the door opens. And who do I see coming out? It was, see, that part I can't remember if it was Ace, if it was Vinny or Eric. But I think it was Eric first. And then when Vinny walked out, he had a little smile. But that's the only time I saw him with a little bit of a smile. You can tell he was, because Vinny, what he likes. He likes when people love him.
Yeah.
And he feeds on that, right? And that was a time I think that he felt like a little bit like that. And then he went to mingle with people, and I stayed there because I wanted to see the other guy coming out. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I think Eric came out again. I can't still remember really which one came out first, but it was very close. And one came out, then the other one came out, and then we had to wait a little bit more. And then Gene came out. Now I followed Gene and took a lot of pictures, and he was like mingling with the kids. Actually, one kid had a little tape recording, and he wanted him to announce his radio station, whatever, his podcast. Not a podcast, it was something that the kid was doing, and Gene did the intro for him. And then he was talking a lot with the small people. I mean, the little kids, because he loves kids. And one kid did something with his tongue, make his tongue very, very big inside his mouth. And Gene said, "Oh, really? Try this." And he took his tongue out, and then he did the spin, like the drill. Yeah. And I swear to God, I was 1 foot away from him. And at that time, by then, I've still never seen a video of him doing that. And I said, "This is crazy." He rolled his tongue like a cigarette. And he was spinning it like a drill. I said, "Okay, this is crazy." And then Paul came out. And when Paul came out, there was not much time to talk with him because I don't have any pictures of him except when he's walking towards the venue. Yeah. So now I'm there, and I said, "Okay, I guess the meet and greet backstage is done. Now they're walking with their guitar and they're getting ready to go there to do the show." No, without the guitar. They didn't have the instrument with them. No. They're only walking. So they're walking, and now they go backstage, and then the lights comes down. I'm standing right next to Gene. This is another moment that I'll never gonna experience that in my life. Is I'm standing next to Gene, literally like 1 foot away from him, and he's got both arms crossed like this, and I got my arm crossed next to him, and I'm looking at the stage, and we see Eric actually going up, and I took a picture real quick on that. I have a picture of Eric sitting down, and then here comes the guy that got me the pass to come in. That's the first time I see it that day. And he talks to Gene. He said, "Have you seen his book?" Gene said, "No." No, I'm really dying at that point. He says, "Yeah, he's got those big books and stuff." I said, "Now I feel like saying, yeah, I wanted you to sign it," but I didn't say that. Then he goes, "Oh, really? That big?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "You should really see them." I said, "Anyway, now I see." Paul is. Then Gene goes up the stairs. They give him the bass, and so I saw the whole thing when they're going up and getting ready. But it's very exciting. But I feel very down because I was really hoping to get the signature, and I missed my shot at that point. And I said, "Oh God." So I'm going back. So they're opening the show. I missed the first 2 songs of that show, 3 songs actually, because I went back to the dressing room. I walk in there. Who do I see? Somebody looking at the books. Who's that man? Chris Land.
Cool.
I don't know who Chris Land is at that time.
Yeah.
So he says, "Those are yours?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "They're amazing." I go, "Well, my goal was to get the band to sign them, and I missed my shot." He said, "Oh," he said, we can arrange that." He said, "Come to the Concord Hotel later after the whole concert, and we'll let you go in, and the guys can come and sign them." Now I'm totally boosted again. Now I'm like, I have hope. I said, "Okay, good. This is good." Now, meanwhile, the band is playing. I don't care right now because the only thing I care, like I told you, is that. So I said, "Okay." So what I'm doing, I'm taking all my stuff and I'm bringing everything back in my car. I'm missing the concert, the beginning of it, but it's okay. I know it's going to be for those books and I can meet them again. That's going to be fun, wonderful. So I put everything back with my brother. We come back in. And now I have my front row ticket. And now I get there and I start taking pictures. And at one point I said, "You know what? If I was somebody from outside and want to see what's happening at that concert, you need different angles." So I start moving. I go back in higher and I go back on the left side. I take pictures from different angles. And one of the best pictures I took actually is when Gene breathed fire and I was like a little bit higher, far. And that picture I love because you really can see all the fans standing up in front of that stage. And the shot is pretty good as far as the flame. And then you see they have those little seats up there when it's like a chair that people can put the spotlight on people that is very, very close above where they play. And you see that guy in that chair, like very good, putting the spotlight on Gene. So it's pictures like that I love. Every time I see pictures 75, 76, and you see what's behind on the wall of the original venue, it's what I like.
Just when you met Chris Land there, did you give him your name or did they?
Nope.
So
didn't have to do that.
Okay.
He just told me, come at the hotel and they will meet you. He was very, very casual. He had a gray suit. Actually, I took a very good picture because he sat down on a chair after. And the guy that got me the card to go in was also sitting on that chair in the dressing room. And I took one very good pictures of Chris Land and one very good picture of the guy who got me in. And so those two, I'm glad I took those 2 pictures.
So because if you had been really unlucky afterwards, you can have some real crappy guy at the hotel telling you, "No, you're not going in."
Oh, well, the thing about going in, nobody couldn't tell me nothing. I mean, I did not go in the room with them. I'll be clear with that.
Yeah, sure.
I only went in the lobby and I actually borrowed one of the valet cart where they put the suitcase in. So I put my books on that. They were all there. And I went, there was couches in the lobby. And I put that right in front of the couches and I was waiting for them. And when they arrived, actually, from that venue, it was still very cold and Gene had a coat and he still had his kind of outfit and he was all sweaty. And I'm looking, he comes to me and he goes, because he knew about the books. And he said, "Okay, let's go take a look at them." I said, I wish I never said that, but I said, do you want to go back to the room to do that? He says, because I wanted to go, not being in that lobby, because now I knew the fans were going to come and there'd be a mayhem in there. He says, he goes, I'm going to go upstairs, I'll take a shower, and then I'll come back.
Yeah.
So I missed my chance not to go to the room at that point with that. So there was a no-no for that, which is normal. So I stayed there, and they all went in the elevator. They went up. I didn't even see Paul actually going, but I missed him because I was probably talking to someone. And shortly after, maybe 20 minutes after, or maybe half an hour later, the first one that came down was Eric, and very friendly. And he came straight to us, actually. He came to us, and he signed the covers that I wanted him to sign, and took a few pictures with people, and then he went straight to the bar with girls. And after that, waiting, and then maybe 20 minutes later, Paul showed up. That was it for me, because Paul was my favorite, even though I wish Gene came down, but Paul was the one. And that was it. He sat down on the couch, and he started turning the pages, and you can tell his eyes were like this big, and he loved it. He was like going back in time, because he loves seeing things about himself, right?
Yeah.
And he really, really dig them. I mean, we're talking now, it was about like maybe 12:15, 12:30 at midnight, right? And he stayed there until 3 o'clock.
Wow,
So
cool.
He was turning pages. Sometimes people wanted to take pictures with them. He would do it, but he'd be right back in the book, turning. He didn't miss a page. He went to every one of them, the 8 volumes. And the one thing that I remember too is, that Playboy that came out in December 1977, the article, The Kiss in Japan.
Yeah.
So he read, there's a lot. That's a long article. He read it all.
Wow.
That's it. And that was kind of eerie, because nobody was talking when he was doing that. There was nobody talking. Like, he's reading, and it's silence. There's about 12 people around him looking at him, and he's reading. So for that particular reason, now that I'm redoing my books and I remove things and I add new things that I get, right, that interview article was so important to him that I put it all in there. I made sure it's in there just for that particular reason. So even though it took quite a few pages, said, okay, this is important to him, so I'm just going to leave it there.
Well, it's important.
Yeah,
it's important to you.
Yeah, to me as well. So, and I tried to, like when I met Bill O'Quine, I asked him some questions when I saw some pictures. You remember that? Like when they were on top of the Empire State Building, there were still some people that claimed that it was not on top of the Empire State Building. It was just a scene. He said, no, it was over there. I said, write it down. So he wrote on that picture, top of the Empire State Building. And when they get the golden things for Alive, he said, this is in Nassau. I said, write it down. He wrote Nassau. And I tried to make him write as much as possible in the book. So that was nice. There's a lot of writing from him in there. And at the end, he said bye to everybody. It was 3 o'clock, and he went back in the elevator, and he left. And I said, then I turned around, I said, I looked at the guy who took all those pictures. I said, make sure tomorrow when you get this filmed, envelope, make sure that everything comes out like perfect. Tell the person to take this time doing it. I need those pictures, because there was no cell phone. So we didn't know if those pictures were going to be good. But it turned out that, all those pictures were great, wonderful.
Wow.
So that was my, so there was before, during, and after. A lot of pictures taken and a lot of excitement. That was one of the best days in the Kiss world for me.
And what did you think about the concert then?
Oh, the concert, I love.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Let's talk about that.
Yeah,
this is important. The energy and that was involved. First of all, there's about maybe between 3,000 and 5,000 people. So there's people in front, but everything else is empty, right?
Yeah.
So I said, okay, this is not going to be energetic, or there's going to be no energy involved in there. Paul did the show like if it was 15,000 people in there.
Yeah.
No joke. This is how professional he was. Gene was a little bit more affected because he was fighting something. So, but he was still doing his moves. He was still doing it. But Paul, man, he was dancing. He was like smiling. See, this is the thing between Gene and Paul on stage. I was so close. You can tell when they were looking at each other and they were smiling and they were having a good time.
But I mean, Gene must have been a little lost on this tour. I mean, he was a rock god monster before this, and now all of a sudden he was standing there with no armor, no platform boots. He was just a ordinary guy in a way. He was just like a guy with long hair and playing bass.
I have a good one for you from that.
Yeah.
When I was backstage waiting for them to come out of the dressing room, and I was talking with Marie-France, she said to me that earlier during that tour, Gene asked her, "What do you think about me breathing fire on that tour without makeup?" So he was still trying to decide if he was going to do it or not.
Yeah, because that was probably not obvious. That now I'm going to do this without makeup. Should I still breathe fire? That's a pretty good.
So he wasn't sure if the people would accept it, if it was the right thing to do. So he was asking people that he trusts around. So that was one of the questions he asked her.
But actually, for me, he seemed a lot more lost on the Animalized tour than he was on the Licked Up tour. Because on the Licked Up tour, he was still kind of in the same persona as when he was the demon. And he wasn't that on the Animalized tour. And when you see the revenge area afterwards, he was more back to the demon character in one way. And even without makeup, that fit more in the show for me than the guy became afterwards.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about it. I agree with you. I mean, Revenge, he looked mean with that goatee with the leather and
leather vest and stuff.
It was weird for me because that day I had another day like in Quebec. I had a day like that in Tempe, Arizona, because I was able to go. I was there at 10 o'clock in the morning, and actually nobody has ever seen that. But I had my video camera with me, and I had the okay to be there that day, and I filmed when the semi-truck, there was only one truck that came in because it was a club tour. The semi-truck is coming in. I'm filming all this. The crew comes in, opens the door in the back, and starts taking the stuff out in the club. I'm in the club. I'm walking there, and I'm still filming them, bringing the PA system, everything. I've never posted this video ever anywhere. And it's like, at one point, after maybe an hour filming, the guy comes in and says, "Do you have access as far as okay to film all this?" I said, "Well, I spoke with the guy that was from the promo that invites them." And he says, no, those guys don't have the right okay on that. So I would appreciate if you stop filming. I said, okay, I will. So I stopped filming at that point, but I got a good chunk of when they were setting up the whole stage.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's just
and that was story. When we talk about filming, that I think was the problem in the early 80s, because in the early 80s you went from the Super 8 camera to the video camera, but still in 83, 82, 83, 84 the video cameras were still really expensive.
Yeah,
because that's you can really tell.
And they were bigger.
They were bigger and they were really expensive, because you can really tell that when you came to the Asylum tour, there's a lot more footage. So by then, in like 85, 86, the cameras were more popular and probably cheaper than they were, in the beginning. So you have a lot more footage from like the Asylum tour than you have from like the Lick It Up tour.
Yeah, and it's also in around 83, it's 83, 84, it's the size. The size of the cameras was it was like something you had here.
Yeah.
But you have two bootlegs video from the Lick It Up tour. You have in Germany, Essen, and Quebec City.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and I got it on video in 1986.
Oh wow!
And what I remember about the concert is one moment when Gene is taking his guitar to the audience, and the audience is taking all the guitar picks. Yeah. It's almost like the Kiss Cruise thing. So,
Oh, yeah.
so do you remember that the audience was close to the stage?
Oh yeah. Oh hell yeah. We're very,
Yeah.
very, very close. It's not like it is now. Now there's a big distance, right, between maybe like 15 feet to 20 feet now between the stage and the first fans.
Yeah.
But we were like almost like against it. I mean, they were literally maybe like 3 feet.
Yeah.
The difference between the two of them. So that's why when he broke the guitar, he was just like he just gave it to someone.
Yeah. And also we have to say that when you saw Quebec City, there was only 3 more shows, and then the tour was over.
Wow.
So the last show they did was actually in Evansville, Indiana, on I think there was the March 17th.
Yeah.
Was the last show in Evansville, Indiana, and that of course was the last show with Vin Vincent. And so then he was kicked out of the band and was no more, involved in Kiss. So you just saw the very, very last part of the tour.
Yeah. It's funny. Just something popped up in my head right now. Another thing that I was thinking when I saw this concert was Paul was in sneakers.
Yeah.
He was wearing sneakers. It fit perfectly because he was dancing a lot, so that was perfect. He looked fine with them. But Paul had those pirate boots kind of thing.
Yeah, you mean Gene? You said Paul.
Gene. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Gene.
he has those pirate. I think this is the same one as he had on like the
It's from The Elder.
The Elder. I think
Yeah.
this could be the same ones.
Yeah, it is.
exactly.
It is.
So that was weird. That was weird to me. It's almost like he kind of refused to give up, like the demon, right? He was trying to still keep the demon persona with him. That's what I felt like, and I said.
But on that show in Quebec City, he has quite a strange outfit because he only had like a Kiss shirt on. He had like no vest or anything. It was just a Kiss shirt.
No, actually, he had like a big sweatshirt.
Yeah.
Black, and he put over a Kiss with no sleeves. It's a Kiss shirt over. If you look very carefully, he's got like the sleeves have been cut.
Okay.
But he has the other shirt that is underneath to keep him warm. That day. I think it had something to do maybe with the kidney that he had.
Makes sense.
Warm. So that's why he had a sweatshirt and another shirt over that has no sleeves on.
Okay. Yeah. Makes sense.
He was fat also on this tour.
It wasn't fat on the Lick It Up tour.
No, he was very skinny on the Lick It Up tour.
No, he was fat.
No.
On Animalize tour, he was skinny.
No, he was skinny on the Lick It Up tour.
He was skinny. He only. It's like he had strange hair sometimes. He almost looked like he almost looked like he had an afro sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That made him look bigger than he was, but he wasn't fat.
No, I don't know if we're gonna end this now. The talking with about this tour. I mean, it was a great event. The great thing that Kiss did, the first tour in America without makeup. And we told a little bit about Gene, that he was maybe a little lost or whatever. And just a couple of months after this, he cut his hair. No, I think it was just a few weeks or something after the tour ended. He cut his hair and he went to Canada to was that Vancouver or something? Where did he shot Runaway? I don't remember. But he shot the Runaway in Canada anyway. And he was all involved in that, So he did that.
But I just want to add that it's the same experience I had on Licked Up tour, the same as Roger is saying. For me, what was incredible was the energy. It was in the energy on the Licked Up tour was so extremely much higher than any show I saw in the 80s afterwards. So I remember seeing them the year afterwards in Oslo, and it was like, this isn't the same band. It was totally different. The only two other bands I've seen that had the same energy on stage was probably Motley Crue in 1984 and Skid Row in 1989, opening for Motley Crue and just blowing them off the stage, actually.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's hard to imagine that this was 40 years ago when you think about it. I mean, it's a long time, I mean.
Yeah.
It is. It is, but it was.
But they went. It was a roller coaster for them, no doubt about it.
Oh yeah, for sure. And
and we actually spoke in the beginning. It's like if they had started the tour, the Creatures tour in Europe, I think they had probably been as successful on the Creatures tour as on the Licked Up tour. For when you see the numbers, the Licked Up tour didn't do that well, and that didn't come before Animalize.
Yeah. And I mean, in New York City, for example, I mean, on the Dynasty tour, they played 2 nights in Madison Square Garden, and on the Lick It Up tour, they played 2 nights at Radio City Music Hall. So that's a difference, and yeah, they played in a lot of smaller venues on the Lick It Up tour. So they did, but that's the way it was, and yeah.
The Dynasty tour. This is a funny one because, they say they lost money on that tour. There was less people there. I was at the one in Montreal, and man, the electricity was like through the roof as far as like the hype. Everybody, it was packed. There was 12,000 people there, and I was in the 10th row. And man, when it got on stage, it was like we're talking about euphoria. It was like I was like shaking. It was, my God, it was so amazing. People say, oh yeah, that's a kind of the clown, the circus outfit. I tell you, if you were there and you witnessed that concert, it was something. I mean, I have only good memories about that.
It was Super Kiss at that point,
I mean, I saw them in 77 and I saw them in 79. 79 was very different from 77, obviously, for the stage. But they were even more like gods at that point than 77. 77, the real diehard fan knew how good they were at that point. And it was like, okay. But man, in 79, it was crazy.
Yeah, I saw the picture you posted.
Yeah, it's great.
That's incredible.
But then, Roger.
Yep.
Yeah, should we?
Yeah, sure.
But then,
sure.
Roger, you had a great experience on the last tour, on the very last tour, when Kiss came to Canada. You had a great experience when you were back in Quebec City.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, you guys are the first one to hear it. So what happened to me when the Kiss tickets went on sale was in March for the last tour, for the 50 last concerts. I was trying to get tickets for Madison Square Garden, and that was like, they think I'm a robot, it wouldn't work. So I tried to get the ones from Quebec City since it's my hometown, and I was able to get those. So I said, okay, I guess it's destiny, right? It's my hometown, and it's going to be my last concert. So I said, okay, I'm gonna go to that one, and I posted on Facebook that's going to be my last show, and it's going to be fun. Then a week later, I get an email. I'm still in March here. We're about 8 months away from that concert. I get an email from my friend Jacques Rouleau. And Jacques was the sound man, because I was in a band back in the early 80s, 1980, 81, 82. I was playing with a band called Phase, and he was our sound man. And he sent me a message. He said, listen, I'm working for this company that when a band comes in town, they hire us to help them setting up the stage and do everything. I might be able to get you to work for Kiss. I said, are you serious? He said, yeah. I said, okay. I said, I would definitely be willing to do that. And we didn't talk about it for all that time because it's useless until it gets closer and they can confirm it, right? So it's getting closer. I'm going to stop before I get to the concert to tell you another thing that happened 4 months before the concert happened. I was at work, and there's this man. I'm from Quebec City, and Quebec City is very close to Montreal. It's 2 hours away from driving. This man from Montreal, I used to wait on him every year. He's coming with his wife, and then I'd take care of him, and he was excited because I was from Quebec. We can speak the same language. And one day he tells me, we're talking 5 years before Kiss came now, 5 years ago. He goes, if you ever come to Montreal, he said, I have box sets, tickets. And if you want to come and see a hockey game, because I was into hockey and he was too, I said, that would be great. So fast forward to 4 months before the concert, Quebec, last year, and I see him, and he goes, Roger, what are you doing here? I said, I work here. Now, I changed the restaurant in the same resort, but because of COVID, the other restaurant never reopened. Anyway, he sees me, and I said, hey, I said, by the way, I'm going to be in Quebec City in November. Go see a concert. He said, oh, okay, good. He said, maybe if you have time, if you can come to Montreal and we can go and see a hockey game. I said, okay. So I'm thinking about it, right? 5 minutes later, I go back to see him and say, hey, by the way, those tickets, would that work with a band if the band comes in play? He said, of course it does. I said, well, Kiss is going to be playing on the 18th of November. Would that work? He said, that would be cool. I said, how many people can I bring with me? He said, bring up to six people. I said, okay. So, and this man is the kind of person that when he does business, it has to be done right away. So I go back in the kitchen, get something for another table. He calls me over. That's 2 minutes after. He shows me his phone, and he had confirmations for the tickets, 6 tickets,
Cool.
Roger Bernard on the 18th. That's 2 minutes after he told me he would get the tickets for me. I said, holy, this is good. So I said, okay, that stays like that. And then now we're going to fast forward the day of the Montreal show, because the Montreal show was just before the one in Quebec. And that's when I saw Alex. Alex came to see us. It was an Irish pub.
Yeah.
And man, that day I got very nervous because those tickets that he sent me the day before, I did not put them in that wallet for the phone. And they were they were there, but they were not accessible.
Okay.
And I have 5 people with me. And Marie-France Rémillard, that journalist from Montreal, is one of them that I'm bringing to that thing. So now the music was very loud in that pub, if you remember.
Yeah, it was.
And I said, now I need to call my guy that gave me those tickets. I go outside, I call him, I said, hey, listen, I need those tickets. I have them, but there's going to be a problem. He said, don't worry about it. He said, just go to where they sell tickets, and they'll be able to retrieve those tickets, and you'll be all right. So I go there. Sure enough, they arrange everything. I'm able to go, and we go to that lodge. And what an experience that was. That was like, okay, we're like kings and queens right here, right now. We got our own bathroom. We got the open bar, those things. So it was a great experience, and the show was great. As you remember, the crowd was extremely responsive. I said to myself that, man, the crowd in Quebec is going to have trouble beating the reaction of the crowd in Montreal. So now I know that it's like after the show, by the time we get the car and get out, I got to be at the venue at 6:30 in the morning. I have to be at the venue to set the stage, because I kind of skipped that. But a week before, my friend Jacques confirmed that I was going to work on that.
Yeah.
And he said, you're going to be working on the automation department. I said, what's the automation department? He says, it's anything about the crane or anything that moves. I said, oh, God. I said, I don't know what I'm going to be doing.
What do you know about that?
I said, yeah, exactly. I said, is it going to be like, is the platform going to go down because of me? I did something wrong. And I was getting nervous now. I said, am I qualified to do that? Anyway, so we leave Montreal the night, and there's a snowstorm. And anyway, it was a long way to come back to Quebec. I went back to bed at 4, and I woke up at 6.
Oh my God.
2 hours of sleep. My adrenaline was going through, so there was no problem. I get there, and my friend was there waiting for the right boots and the right outfit, the hat and everything. And I go there. There was like some kind of a room where they had a meeting about, we all had a bracelet, a kind of color bracelet. Mine was brown. That was for the automation department. And I need to stick with my people. So we're wearing a T-shirt. That's all I'm wearing. I said, this is winter. We're going to be outside. No, we stay inside. I said, okay. So we're there. We're all waiting. And the guy tells me, he said, they have 20 semi-trucks for the outfit, for the whole stage. I said, okay. And now I'm waiting. The trucks are arriving. They open the door. Now I'm seeing that thing about 3, 2, 1 contact video
Yeah.
from 79. This is all I can see in my head. I said, I'm living it. This is me now. I'm able to do that. And it's my last chance because Kiss not going to be touring anymore. And I'm doing it. I said, God, this is good. So people are not moving. They're just waiting because they're supposed to be the bracelet for unloading the trucks that unloads the trucks. But my friend Jacques says, if you want to go help him, you can help him. I say, yeah, I want to go. So I'm starting moving things. And nobody is allowed to take pictures.
Yeah.
But my friend did. He was able to sneak because he's kind of higher in the rank of that company. So he made sure he took some pictures of that from me. So anyway, so now I'm pushing the cart. I'm going in the venue and I'm looking at the venue. It's my first time going in, right? They're starting putting all the equipment. I'm seeing those big, the pods. The pods were folded in half. And the big metal thing, trust me, you don't want that cart to roll over a foot because you'll lose the foot. So heavy. And everything is coming down. It's like, I know what everything is. I'm looking, oh my God. So we're filling up the entire floor. One half of the floor, we do all the electrical. The other half, the building, that entire stage. So where the electrical is happening, now we're asked to come and start putting those big metal pillars where all the spots are going to be attached to. So we're bolting. In that video, 3, 2, 1 contact, it's like they have the gun,
Yeah.
but now it's by hand. It's like you got to do it by hand. Make sure it's tighted perfectly. So we're doing that for maybe an hour. Then we go do another one, and then we're doing a different type of spotlights now. You know the ones that you got the pods, and in between the pods, there's some spotlights. They look like things like this, metal, and they kind of extend up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
Those are extremely heavy, okay? Metal, like super heavy. And the only thing that holds that thing is 2 clamps that has 2 bolts each. I said, how can something that heavy be held only with 4 bolts? If that thing goes down, whoever's underneath will die for sure. But anyway, that worked. We get that all tied up. There's so many people in their own department that are in charge, but they're kind of looking at us if we're doing things right. Because if you remember, there's a concert that I've seen that when there's an entire piece of lighting that falls down on that stage, if you remember. So I'm thinking about this now. I said, I hope everything is going to be okay. So, and now to my biggest surprise, I'm with my friend Jacques, and we're asked to go to do the cherry pickers. The cherry pickers is when Tommy and Gene are going to be over the stage.
Yeah.
And I said, holy shit, we're going to be doing this? So it's all like, there's maybe like I don't know, 7 parts that you need to put together. So we got the hammer, the peg, and we're putting everything together, and the clamps. So we're building this entire thing. And that little, I don't know, there's like a little stage at the end. And I'm telling you, that ramp where they are going to be held, I mean, it goes around the waist, is only 2 little clamps that holds that. So this is okay, I guess. But the man that was in charge for those cherry pickers, there's 4 motor with the chain that goes all the way up to the ceiling. By the way, those chains that are coming down from that ceiling, when we arrived at 6 o'clock in the morning, those guys were already working since 3 o'clock before. And there was 100, and approximately, they say about 150 or 160 of those with a motor, each of them, to lift everything up. That was an incredible production. But anyway, so this guy he's watching us if we're putting everything together, and it's fine. And so we did the first one. We had a break. We go have lunch, and then we come back, and somebody else was going to do the other one, and the guy that was in charge said, no, I want those 2 guys to do this one because they know how it's made now. So I felt pretty good about this. And we put that thing together, and then it goes up. And then what's the next thing that we're doing? Now I go see that stage that was ready in the back, right? So meanwhile, they are lifting the pods and they're lifting everything up. that were doing the cherry pickers, and I go see that stage, and I go see Sam the Serpent for Gene, and I'm looking at it very close, right? I'm about 10 feet away from it, and I see like it's all like chipped, and there were things missing. On stage, it looks very good, but up close, it didn't look that good. I mean, they had the face and everything, but you can tell it was used and it was starting to get beat up. Then, after everything is up, we have to move the entire stage all the way to where it belongs. So at the other one, from one side of the arena to the other side, and there's about 120 people pushing that thing. It's all on wheels. Underneath, there's still like those motor and generator with the air and everything that's attached to the stage. And then when you push it, everything comes in. Everything is on wheels. And it has to be, there's a white tape that is where the stage goes, and all the wheels needs to be on that tape. Cannot be 1 inch apart or further. So the amount of, it was one of the last shows, so they've done that so many times, and it was, rehearsed so many times as far as setting up the stage. I swear to you, when I saw where they were at noon, I said, there's no way they're going to be ready tonight. There's no way. Everything was still down. The stage was over there. I said, I know how the stage looks like. There's no way. And by 3 o'clock, it was all set. It was ready. Then that's when they cut me. But they cut me. I mean, they say, okay, you can go now. Yeah. And I went back to my hotel, getting ready. I had dinner and came back for the show. So that to me was more important that I did that than if I had a private meet and greet with every one of them backstage.
Yeah.
That was.
And it was really cool that it was your hometown and everything. So I mean, what a great way to end everything. I mean, that was amazing,
The picture that I have are like price. I cannot post them because my friend told me if I do and it goes back to the company, then he would get in trouble. And he's the one who allowed me to do that. So I will never post those pictures. But man, I mean, there's one I'm like down on my knees and twisting those bolts for the lighting gear and everything. This is priceless. It's so good. So that was the big thing.
Maybe
for me.
in 2 or 3 years you can do it.
I think so. I can't. Well, but that guy works for that company, so he would still be in trouble.
Yeah.
So I can't do that. I cannot do it.
But that's great. I mean, imagine you as a young kid, loving Kiss, and then a number of years later you're working, setting up everything.
It's funny because about 2 weeks ago I took that videotape that I have of 3-2-1 Contact. It's been a long time since I watched it, and I played it, and I said, it was so cool. I said, man, I forgot that most of the things that are on that video.
Yeah.
I said,
the umbrella. The umbrella.
The umbrella for the confetti.
Yeah, exactly. The guy with the lighting, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Great, a clear umbrella so you can see through. Yeah, I remember that. But it was a great experience, and it made me. I mean, the Montreal show and the Quebec show, the two of them back to back, was above all expectation for me.
Yeah, then I went, as I told before in this podcast, but not when you were are in it. I went to Ottawa then, and then the Ottawa show was canceled, so that was a very weird experience, and also the Toronto show was canceled, and what else? Knoxville was canceled. Exactly.
Yeah, three shows in a row. I said, oh my God, we got lucky.
Yeah.
The 2 shows that I had tickets, they were good. And I saw the last Canadian show then.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. That was the last one.
Yeah.
So that's sad, but yeah.
And then when the New York shows happened, those New York Post paper, the 3 of them. Yeah. I saw that the first one. When I saw it the same day, I saw the first one. I said, I want this. I need this. Yeah. So I went. I thought it'd be here, right? And some people where they it was not here. It was only in New York. Yeah. So that night I went on eBay, and there was only 2 people that was selling the first one, the one that was on Wednesday. Yeah. And it was like $70, I think they were asking for, $80. I said, I don't care. I'm paying it. I need that one. It needs to be good. It needs to be framed. I need it. And it turns out that the second one and the third one, most of the Kiss fans were there, and most people have it. But the first one, there was no Kiss fan there, and they were discarded and they were thrown away.
Yeah, because there was a lot of people hadn't arrived yet in New York. So
exactly.
the first one is a lot harder to get than the second, the third one. So because by then everybody was in New York, so that makes sense.
But man, I wish I was in New York when that happened, because I know the feel that was there. I said, man.
Yeah, we said earlier in this podcast that when we were in New York, the city was like that. You imagine that it would be in every city that Kiss is playing, because if Kiss is, I've seen Kiss in Tokyo. When Kiss was in Tokyo, the city didn't care about Kiss. Kiss played there, and the day after was some other band playing. There's so many things happening in big cities.
Yeah.
But in New York this time, there were Kiss all over the city. We just got by bus to New York, and we jumped into a taxi, and the taxi had those small screens, in the back, and they were showing Kiss stuff, like on this day we're playing in Madison Square Garden. They had those promotion things on the screens, and that was amazing. There was Kiss all over the place.
Yeah,
a little like Stockholm in '97. Then Stockholm in '97 felt like that.
Yeah, that was also crazy. Stockholm in '97 was amazing. Kiss was all over the place, and there were magazines, and there was advertising, and it was amazing. It was really amazing.
Magnus, you were the last Kiss cruise.
Yeah.
I saw you there.
Yeah.
To me, I'll be honest with you, I did only 3 Kiss cruises. I did the third one, I did the 5th one. That's when they did Alive, and then I did the last one. And the last one is the one I enjoyed the most.
Why?
Because of I'm going to say the highlight for me was Bruce Kulick playing all the Crazy Nights and all the stuff. Yeah. The reason why I'm saying that to you now is because when it happened, they were doing all the deep cut that Kiss cannot do anymore. And it was like, I said, after Kiss is done, this is what people are going to come and look for. It's going to be a situation when there's a next member that is playing, and we can go and really embrace what it used to be around. And people were like, I remember how I felt. I was like, we had tears coming down. It was so amazing. And I know in New York it felt pretty much like that, because you got all those people from different countries. So if for any reason, and I think it will happen, that Kiss might do another Kiss cruise, but differently, because they love to sell their instruments and make more money. So I'm guessing it will. There's a chance it might happen. I'm going to be the first one to go on that Kiss cruise for sure, because I want to experience that again. Hopefully Bruce Kulick's going to be there. If they are smart, they're going to have Bruce Kulick coming on that thing. And so there's that, and there's going to be also the other thing that I'm looking for, the convention, the indie convention.
I think the conventions, expos, whatever you want to call it, I think that's going to get a little new life now when the band stopped, because now the fans are getting around, celebrating the band and everything, like it was, in the early days with conventions and stuff like that. So I think it's gonna be an.
They're gonna be huge. They're gonna get sold out. It's gonna be the kind of event where you're gonna have to buy a ticket early, and like Comic-Con here. When we have Comic-Con, I used to be able to go the same day, buy my own tickets in 2006. In 2008, they would sell out in an hour. 125,000 tickets would sell within an hour. So now you can't go anymore. So I think the Kiss shows like that, that's gonna happen. Yeah. I think that's my prediction.
And actually, it's for me. I would rather go to a large Kiss convention now than actually seeing Kiss live. But
I agree.
It's like I have no problems like going to the States to see a big convention like when I met you in Atlanta and stuff like that. Man, I actually think that's cooler cooler than shows.
I mean, meeting all those guys, I mean, Julian and all those guys, so cool, man. I mean, I had the time of my life there.
Yeah. So we have to wait and see what's going to happen actually in the future. So, but maybe we're gonna to close this episode, and we thank you, Roger, for being once more being part of this podcast.
Thank you.
And told us amazing stories from the Lick It Up tour and from the recent the last part of the End of a Road tour.
Yeah,
that was really cool to hear. So we thank you very much. And till next time, we say,
keep on kissing.
We are the rock